I just got off of a hackathon, an event hackathon with Socio, and we were teamed up in teams of four. There was 4 teams of 4, and we were pulled together to create a 10-minute presentation on how we would hack a future event. There was judges and criteria, and I had an awesome team. I thought we took on a great project. We didn't win. But I ended up being the presenter and decided to use Prezi as the presentation piece. So at first we were going to use kind of a combination of video and PowerPoint or Keynote, and then we decided with about let's say 45 minutes or an hour left to create hey, let's see if we can create this Prezi presentation. So this was the third Prezi presentation that I've created and delivered. It's the first one I've created this fast and didn't dry run and delivered. And just from an idea for those that are just curious, that I will give away the piece. This is what right here is kind of a sneak peek of what I created. And I wanted to show kind of the behind the scenes and how I made that all happen, and really hopefully kind of give you guys a little peek into what that whole world is. So I'm going to try to go through that, do some screen sharing, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in. But I figured I would pull this together, and then we can kind of move forward from here. So let's jump over to Prezi. So I'm in Prezi Next, which they have a browser and an app version. And so interestingly enough, this is the template I used. So I turned this template into this presentation that you see here down below. So that's kind of what, what's up everybody on Periscope, hey everybody on Facebook, thanks for jumping in. So this presentation is the template, and I turned it into this. And so this is the logo of the event company that we created. And so I'll show you kind of how that all works. And the neat thing with Prezi video is you can take any Prezi presentation and turn it into a Prezi video, or you can use a Prezi video template and turn it into a Prezi video. And so I'm going to show you how I created this, and then I will kind of give you a sneak peek on the other side. So if you want to use this template, that's kind of what we're going to do here. So it opens up, it should be opening up here in a second. You don't need all these crazy windows in the background. So here's the presentation in the default side of the house, right? So I will put that, we'll put that right here. And so, it has all these multiple elements, and it's kind of already built so that when you do this, it drills in, you drill out, it drills in, you can drill down below. Now, as you can see, there's a different logo in the middle. It's different colors. It's different setup. And from the background of Zoom of Prezi video is the background of the actual Prezi. So this blue background is what the video will take on once you enable this into Prezi video. And so you have to kind of take that into account. So what I did kind of course at first is delete some of the elements that I don't want in the presentation, and then I think about, okay, what side do I want this presentation, the graphics to be on, because it's going to be overlaid in my world. And real quick, let me just flash back to this other view real quick, and I will click this one off. So I have this background, so it's important to think about what is the background it's going to overlay on. I can tell you at first I made the mistake of having very light colored pieces, and it doesn't show up great there. Now I do have another light that I will put on back there to kind of show you guys how I do that. But the kind of this, so I took this piece, and I'm a big fan of Canva and Canva and Adobe Spark. So depending on the graphic, so what I ended up doing was I went in here and I downloaded this graphic that they had, this 3D graphic, and because I was I want to be able to put the logo in the middle, and I wanted to kind of look interactive. So I downloaded it, and then I decided to go get the logo from the company. So I got downloaded the logo, which you guys will see here in Canva. I made it transparent in the background so that I could use it for that kind of functionality. I then used this tool, Luna Pick, to create the white background that you'll that you end up seeing. And so like that's how I made this piece. So what I did is if you look over here in the presentation, I moved not the actual text, but I moved the graphic over here because I was like, okay, I want to present on this side. These are all of the topic pieces, so you have to move the topic pieces, of course, with you, so wherever you want them to lay. And this is like how the Prezi form goes, so you kind of have to think of it in that sense, right? And it's important to kind of think about where you're going to sit and how you're going to set up the layout. And so then, of course, like I went in and I advanced edited each one of these items so that I could change the color, because of course I wanted to use the orange from the graphic one, so I created the orange. So and this is where I made a mistake the first time. I didn't. So I made it like very, as you can see, it's a very light background. So if I, let's just say I don't want it to be that light, I went in here afterwards and made all of the circles orange, as you can see here. So I did that in the full circle, kind of make that a little bit easier to see with the white background, right? So I did that with each one of them. I then added to this graphic, I was able to go in and say, insert image, be able to upload one of my images. And so I could upload the image that I had edited, which of course it lays it over. And then, then I could insert it in the middle of the presentation. So now my job is to look at each one of these pieces and edit it. Now, remember what I had said before, the blue in the background is where the video is going to be. So this is not a template for an actual video presentation. So the way that I did it is I took this main bulk piece, which is not going to be my video, and I made it like kind of like a half circle there. And then I brought the text over here, got rid of that default logo, and then I kind of edited all of those different presentations. So what you guys can see on this screen is the kind of finished product, right? So I went in and edited each one of these, and then so what I did was it drills in to this, right? And so this was the first drill in, and then I decided to go a step deeper. So I created the Prezi presentation to where it opens there, and then of course backs out again. And this is me, this is where my photo is going to be. And what's kind of nice is that if you want to like test it out so that you can see what it looks like, you can do that using this software here. So as you'll see, it'll drop my logo in the back, and you can freeze the video so that you can use it. So now you'll notice like, okay, now I know where I need to stand, and I mean, that's a really bad picture of me. And how I want that to like configure the logo. Now I will tell you, thinking about this from a presentation perspective, and here let me pull up the other presentation. So from a presentation perspective, if I go into this one and kind of pull it up for you, it's important when you're thinking about these virtual presentations, the audience is going to be short attention span, but you're going to have a goal on the topic and the content that you're going to present or that you're going to populate, right? And so, the thing that I started off with, and this is probably the part I skipped the most, is we created a slide deck ahead of time, right? So we created, and the team did this whole thing, right, where we broke down everything we wanted to say. So I think it's important to have like an outline or your presentation and understanding your workflow. Now you'll notice, look how much content is on here, right? So we built this because it would be a downloadable asset. And so what I did was I took all of this really detailed pieces and I wanted to build it into a workflow that would allow me to click in and out of these different pieces. Because of course in Prezi, the way it works is, I'm clicking into a topic. So I click into this topic, the topic will open up, right? So this is what I created. I will talk about it, and then it will take me back to the home screen. So one of the important things that you want to think about when you're creating this kind of presentation is where a traditional slide is like slide, 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 you just kind of build on each other. Prezi is discuss a topic, come back out to the overview. Discuss a piece, come back out to the overview. Now, as I showed you before, you can go deeper in each one of those pieces, right? So like on this one, I went in and talked a little bit about virtual experiences, And then I even went a step further because I didn't want to come back out to the outline, and I added more context to this event, to this conversation. And so that's kind of how you have to think about building out these presentations. So as you can see, there's 7 circles around this actual 3D graphic. I moved them over the different colored logos so it doesn't, so I don't have that problem with that being there. And so now I have like the presentation. So I mean, and that took a long while, right? You have to edit. You can edit like so. Like this one, it says gamification on the outside, but when I'm clicking into it, of course, it says something different, right? So you edit and configure all of these different text. You can add different. You can insert photos. You can insert all of these different components, animation. Like if I want to make their logo, animated whenever we clicked into it, I could do that as well. So all of these things, you can add it. You can configure your style inside of Prezi Next. And then, of course, when you're done, now one of the big things that you're going to want to do is to figure out how to turn the video part, right? So now you have to configure the video. So, like, what's interesting is, like, I built this out. So we had the slide deck. We worked on the slide deck for, like, 2.5 hours. We took the slide deck, and then I took it and kind of provided the high-level pieces, and then each one of the drill downs. And remember, this is a 10-minute presentation, which I talk fast, and that's even fast for me, right? And so I built it out that way. And now the part that you have to do next is, let me switch over, let's see, Prezi and me. All right, so now you guys can see right here. So this is Prezi video. So I'm going to create a Prezi video from one of the presentations that I already have, which would be, I'm going to use the one I had before. So you guys will see. So there you go, right? So the way that I did it was, of course, I'm using my standing desk. I turned on this light, which kind of lit that backside, right? All right. Standing desk, of course, helps. All right, so now standing desk has a mind of its own. So now what you're seeing right here is the Prezi interface, right? So here, let me minimize it a little bit more. So this is just the Prezi interface that you guys are seeing, and it is kind of weird seeing double of me, but we'll take it off. So in this setting, this is like kind of the presentation mode for Prezi video. So in this setting, you have 3 options: nothing on the screen, you have the overlay on the screen, or just the overlay on the screen, right? And some of you might notice, right? Like it's mirrored, so like you can see me here, like this is my left hand, but on the Prezi, so the Prezi mirrors the video image, of course, because it's putting it out there. So that's something to consider too. And so what I do is I think about, okay, where am I going to stand? How am I going to present this? And then the options that you have, which we can see on the screen here, are I can broadcast it to a video conference, which is one of the options here. So I can do it to YouTube, I can do it to Facebook, I can do it to LinkedIn, I can do it to Google Chrome, WebEx. And so what I did is I chose Zoom and pushed it out to Zoom. Now, for the likes of this piece here, I'm just going to do it from a recording perspective so you guys can see kind of what we did. And so this is how I presented it, right? So the way that I think about this is I think about where my hands are going to be, how I'm going to click through the presentation itself. So let me switch. I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can switch to this camera so you're not stuck looking at 2 of me. Nope. All right, so you're going to look at 2 of me for right now, just the way that I have it set up. Actually, here I can. Let's get rid of that version of me. Goodbye, Brian in a box. All right, so now we have this piece, right? And so this is the part that it does get a little tricky because this overlay that you guys are seeing here, there's no green screen, and of course I'm going to present this live, right? So now, of course, I'm going to record it for here, but let's say I'm going to press the button to go live, right? Which is I'm going to press right here in the start recording, right? So now, so now we're live, right? Now we're recording Prezi video where now I have, as you guys can see, there's no green screen. It is reversed. And so the way that I did it was I was thinking, okay, I'm right here, I'm presenting, right? So I move my mouse onto the arrow, and so so I'm talking about my first point. I'm gonna say, okay, now we need to think about connecting on virtual. And so I click the button, and it brings me in, right? So now I'm talking about virtual experiences, and I go, okay, now we need to take this a step further. What would be the virtual experience that we're gonna create? I hit the next button again, and it takes me a little bit further, right? Because that first spot was 2 levels down. So now I'm delivering this kind of content. And remember, the way that this presentation works is that you drill in, finish your talking, you come back out to home. And so now I come back out, when I click the next button again, it comes back out to the interactive graphic. And so I've actually found this really handy for virtual presentations because it allows you to, when people come in late or when people aren't sure like exactly what you're talking about, they don't get lost downstream because you're always coming back to center. But I will say this is a little bit of a change of the mindset of the way we present, right? And so, and then I click the next button, and now it moves to the next circle. So now you guys can see that the next circle is up. I can talk about that, and I can click through it. And so, like, this is kind of the nice thing about the way that this whole the Prezi works is that, I'm clicking through the presentation in the order that I set up. It's using the overlay. There's no green screen. I move my hands and I talk too fast for green screen. So, like, I have a green screen right here, but I have to really be like focused on what that content's going to be if it's a green screen. And so, then it comes back, up to here as far as, being able to deliver it. Now, with Prezi Video, you can hit stop, and it's going to, allow you to have that recording. But I think one of the things that I wanted to kind of share on this is that, like, the big piece about this kind of content creation and virtual experiences is we want to use the virtual atmosphere that we have to not only maintain attention, but to present things in different ways. Like, I actually think using slides online is asinine, right? Because slides are the limitation that we're given in the offline world because it's a big screen and we have a background. But in this world, just like a TV broadcast or like you have Twitch, gaming, like the idea of using overlays, right? We should be using overlays where we're able to, like, let's drop in, well, that's another lower third that I had, right? Like, let's drop in a logo, right? Like, being able to drop in these kind of logos, putting, really production value into your presentation is critical, but it's also important that the tech isn't overwhelming. It doesn't it doesn't take away from, the presentation and the style of presentation. And so I wanted to show you, so what I showed you before, let me click here. So like what I showed you before, this was a Prezi presentation. So this is a Prezi presentation that I turned into a video template. But they actually do have video templates, and I'll show you what one of those look like, that I created one of my presentations for last week. So they have these the video templates, which are actually really nice because you can build on someone else's video template or you can build your own depending on what you want to do. So here is, let's see, where are my, let me grab my presentation. So as you can see, I've been playing around with different presentations, different styles. This is one that I did as well. And so if I go into my Prezi video side of the house and I open up, let's open up this one. You're going to see what the templates look like for the video. And so this is a little simpler because they're designed with the idea that you're doing it on video. And so, which is actually really nice because then you don't have to worry about, where am I going to stand? How am I going to move back and forth? And here, it might be playing havoc with my cameras, right? So there you go. It's loading. It actually loads pretty fast. It's just more of my own thing. All right, here, let's switch to the local one. And like I said, I just wanted to create this so I could share it with you guys on a, all right, so this is Prezi Video. And so if I want to create a new video, what it does is it opens up my Prezi video. And now you'll see the templates, right? So now I can select a template. Let's select one that I might actually use. Let's like this one. No, I don't like that one. Let's do this one. I would not use. So yeah, so as you can see, these are the ones that, you know, just like it was before. These are the different stages of your talk, and so you can add different ones. So like, I'm like, oh, I don't want that picture there. I'm going to have a different picture. So I can create, you know, I can set this template up, and the nice thing about doing it this way is that you can see your video right there, and I can, okay, now I want to add content, so now I'm going to, you know, customize my presentation. I can add different overlays. I can add some of the graphics they have, and so you can build that directly in Prezi Video. So, you know, I've only done, I believe, 3. I guess I've done 4. I've created 4 presentations, only given 3 of them in live webinars. And what is interesting is that, like, that interaction that you're seeing, like the fact that, you know, I'm clicking the button. Now I will tell you, in the one presentation, I made the video a little bit more zoomed in, so no one saw me clicking the button. They thought actually I just had my timing down, like, wow, he's really good at his timing, and I can tell you that was not the case at all. But, you know, I think as we look at virtual presentations, as we look at this idea of how do we incorporate different components, the feedback I've got from this style of presentation has been amazing. But I'm going to use the caveat that I really put a lot into the design and the thought process of how I'm going to talk through these slides, right? So it's not just like taking my keynote and adding it into Prezi Video and clicking through. And really a lot of it comes down to, okay, when I click into something, what is the reaction? Okay, I'm giving them content, I'm giving content. Now I'm bringing them back to center, and I'm kind of, okay guys, now we're regrouping, and then I'm going back in, right? So if you think about it from that standpoint, it's kind of like jabbing in different areas in your presentation, and I think it provides a different emotion. Now I will say, one of my talks is on digital empathy, and on that talk I'm planning on using a different tool that I will have to show you guys soon to create that talk, because I want it to be less of the weaving and bobbing and more of like taking people on this journey. All right guys, Brian Fanzo here. So I'm doing some post-production. I kind of ramble on, and there were some hiccups in like the internet connection at that point. So I wanted to end this here and just kind of like not only showing you how I use Prezi Video, but you're doing it right after the fact. I mean, I had just finished a full day hackathon. And so here I'm going to play a little bit of the time lapse right now. And this is a time lapse from the Socio hackathon where I actually gave the presentation. And you'll be able to see some of the comments scrolling quickly there on the right-hand side. But hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight into different ways we can be creative. I'm already getting, you know, some great ideas on using Prezi beyond this, but I can tell you, I mean, you can look at the feedback here in this, in this time lapse. So many people leaving so many great comments. Definitely fun to push the limits, and you'll be memorable and stand out, you know, when you're making engaging presentations like this.